And even if the other authentication is done, but if the said person is identified on the common portal on the basis of data analysis or risk parameters, then only after carrying on physical verification of place of business, the registration will be approved. Cancellation of registration with regard to persons who are required to deduct TDS or TCS. So proper officer was allowed to cancel the registration earlier. Now it is even the registered person can request for cancellation of registration. So this is with regard to registration. Input tax credit, very, very important amendment. So what we were doing is earlier first in 2017, 18, 17, 18, 18, 19 and all, even the matching was not carried out. Matching of purchase registered with GST 2A. Only in 2019, October 2019, we got a notification stating that we have to match the purchase register with GST 2A, and whatever is matched, that match credit only is required to be taken. That is what we are following. And from 1st January 2022 onwards, it was replaced with 2B and not 2A. So current, what we are doing, we are matching with GST 2B and we are taking the credit, whatever is match credit, we are taking the credit. But what is proposed in the notification? Matching of purchase register with GST 2B is required. Apart from that, we also have to verify whether the supplier has furnished GST 3B or not. And GST 3B, he has to furnish maximum by 30th September, following the end of the financial year, in which the ITC in respect of the invoice or debit note has been availed. So that verification is required. So the supplier, for example, 2021-22, sorry, 22-23, 2022-23, any ITCs is there, he should have, the supplier should have furnished the return by 30th September 2023, maximum by 30th September 2023, he should have furnished the GST 3B. Only then we are eligible to take the input tax credit. Suppose we have taken the input tax credit based on the conditions. Section 16, subsection 2, we have the conditions. Possession of invoice, then receipt of goods or services, filing of return under section 39, and matching of the credit. And then subject to section 41, the supplier has paid the tax. So provisional credit was we were eligible to take provisionally credit. So we have taken the credit, but the corresponding supplier has not filed his GSTR 3B. So what is the consequence? Where GSTR 3B pertaining to ITC in respect of invoice or debit note has not been furnished by the corresponding supplier. So if it has not been furnished by the corresponding supplier till 30th day of September following the end of the financial year. So for financial year 22-23, 30th September 2023. Then whatever ITC we have claimed, we have to reverse it, and also we have to pay interest. So we have to reverse the ITC while furnishing the written in form GST 3B on or before the date of 30th November following the end of the financial year. So what if the said amount is not reversed? If the said amount is not reversed by the registered person in the return in form GST 3B on or before the 30th of November following the end of the financial year, then that amount has to be paid along with interest under section 50. So 18% interest. So they have abruptly given as section 50. So whether it is section 50, subsection 1 or subsection 3, that clarification is required. But subsection 3 clearly says we have utilized it wrongly. So wrong utilization of credit, then 24%. But for this, 18% will apply. This is the view of the author. Next, proviso 2. Suppose if the supplier subsequently furnishes the return in form GSTR 3B for the said tax period. So leaving behind this 30th September, after that he furnishes, then the registered person, like we can reavail the credit in the return in form GSTR 3B for any tax period thereafter. So that means whatever interest we paid, that we will not get, but we can reavail the credit. It is almost similar to that section 16 subsection 2 proviso 2. So if you do not pay the tax plus value of supply within 180 days to the corresponding supplier, we have to reverse the credit and we have to pay the interest at the rate of 18%. But once we make the payment, we are eligible to reavail the credit. But whatever interest we paid will not be taken back. Same way here, if the supplier has not furnished the return within 30th of the September, 30th day of September following the end of the financial year, we have to reverse the credit. In case we have not reversed the credit within 30th of November following the end of the financial year, we have to pay the amount along with interest at the rate of 18%. Subsequently, if the supplier is filing the return, that is after the 30th September, if he files the return, then we can reavail the credit. But whatever interest we paid is gone. So this is with regard to ITC. So ITC, what we saw is matching of credit, that is PR with 2B is required. Apart from that, we also have to ensure that the corresponding supplier has furnished the GSTR 3B. So this is one additional, I'll say additional work for the tax filers, who has to ensure that the corresponding supplier has filed the GSTR 3B or not. So we have to ensure that they have filed. So we have to get the returns, GSTR 3B returns every month or quarterly. If they are quarterly taxpayers, we have to get the quarterly return. Payment. So this is with regard to payment chapter. Rule 87, subrule 8, proviso inserted. So what is that proviso? So we are making the payment in electronic cash ledger. So we generate a challan in form GST payment 6 on the common portal and we make the payment. Suppose the bank fails to communicate the challan identification number to the common portal. So if it fails to communicate, then the electronic cash ledger will be updated on the basis of e-scroll of the Reserve Bank of India in cases where the details of the said e-scroll are in conformity with the details in challan generated in form GST payment 6. So now what happens is when the challan identification number is not generated, it will not be reflected in the cash ledger. But after this notification, what happens is the electronic cash ledger will be updated on the basis of e-scroll of the Reserve Bank of India. Next, Rule 88C inserted. So what is Rule 88C? Difference in liability reported in statement of outward supplies and that reported in return. So what does this mean? Tax payable as per GSTR 1 is greater than tax payable as per GSTR 3B by such amount and such percentage as may be recommended by the council. So suppose whatever liability we furnish in GSTR 1 is higher than whatever liability we have furnished in GSTR 3B, then what will happen? The registered person will be intimated for that difference in part A of form GST DRC 1B electronically on the common portal, and a copy of that intimation will also be sent to his email address provided on the common portal, highlighting the said difference and directing him to pay the differential tax liability. So he has to pay the differential tax liability, whatever is the difference between 1 and GSTR 3B, along with interest of 18% through form GST DRC 3, or what he can do is he can explain the difference in tax payable on the common portal. So he has to furnish a reply within a period of 7 days. So what are the steps to be taken by the registered person to whom the intimation is sent? So after he receives the intimation, he has to make the payment of differential tax liability as specified in part A of form GST DRC 1B, fully or partially, along with interest under section 50 through form GST DRC 3, and he has to furnish the details thereof in part B of form GST DRC 1B electronically on the common portal, or he has to furnish a reply electronically on the common portal incorporating whatever reasons he has, because there may be clerical error while filing GSTR 3B. You would have left out some say when you're consolidating, you would have left out some invoice, or when you're typing the number, you would have left out some 1 or 2 digits. So there may be clerical error. So you can explain that through the reasons. So we have to explain electronically on the common portal, incorporating the reasons in respect of that part of differential liability, which has been remaining unpaid, if any, in part B of form GST DRC 1B. Within a period of 7 days, we have to explain. Consequent of non-payment or non-furnishing of reply or reason furnished by the registered person to whom the intimation is sent is not acceptable. Suppose whatever amount specified in the intimation remains unpaid within a period of 7 days, or where you have not furnished any explanation or reason for the intimation which you received, or you have furnished the response, but it is not found to be acceptable by the proper officer, then the proper officer will recover the amount under section 79, that is recovery of taxes. So through that mode, he will recover the taxes. So this is with regard to payment. So payment, in case we have not furnished, the challan identification number is not generated, then the electronic cash ledger will be updated on the basis of the e-scroll. And rule 88C, where there is difference in liability which is reported in GSTR1 versus 3B, then the intimation will be sent to both the, intimation will be sent to the registered person. The registered person will have to either pay the amount or he has to furnish the reasons with regard to that difference. And suppose the reasons found are not found to be acceptable, or he has not furnished any reasons, or he has not made any payment, then proper officer will recover the amount in accordance with the provisions of section 79, that is recovery of taxes. Next is with regard to returns. Rule 59, subrule 6, clause D inserted. So to a registered person to whom the intimation is sent under the provisions of rule 88C in respect of a tax period, he shall not be allowed to furnish the details of outward supplies of goods or services or both under section 37, that is in form GSTR1 or using IFF for the subsequent tax period, unless and until he has deposited the difference amount or he has furnished a reply stating the reasons for any amount which is remaining unpaid, which is required as per rule 88C. So unless and until you have furnished the reply or made the payment, you will not be allowed to furnish the subsequent returns under GSTR1. Tax invoice, debit notes and credit notes. Rule 46, clause F, proviso inserted. So where any taxable service is supplied by or through an e-commerce operator. So we have supplied any service through an e-commerce operator or by a supplier of online information database access retrieval service to a recipient who is unregistered, irrespective of the value of supply. A tax invoice issued by the registered person will have to contain the details of name and address of the recipient along with its PIN code and name of the state, and said address shall be deemed to be the address on record of the recipient. So earlier what happened was the name and address of the recipient was required to be mentioned in the tax invoice only in case if the value of taxable supply is less than rupees 50,000, only if the recipient requests for the same. Otherwise, it was not required to be mentioned. But now you have to mention, irrespective of the value of taxable supply, the tax invoice should contain the details of name and address of the the recipient along with PIN code. And that name and address shall be deemed to be the address on record of the recipient. Rule 46A, proviso inserted. A single invoice cum bill of supply shall contain the particulars as specified under Rule 46 or 44, as the case may be, and Rule 49. So single invoice cum bill of supply is sufficient, and it shall contain whatever details are specified under Rule 46, the tax invoice, 54 with regard to specific invoices, that has to be mentioned. Refund. So under refund, a statement containing the details of invoices, number, date, value, tax paid, and details of payment in respect of which refund is being claimed, along with a copy of invoices, proof of making such payment to the supplier, the copy of agreement or registered agreement or contract as applicable, entered with the supplier for supply of service, the letter which is issued by the supplier for cancellation of termination of agreement or contract for supply of service, details of payment received from the supplier against cancellation or termination of such agreement, along with proof thereof, in a case where the refund is claimed by an unregistered person, where the agreement or contract for supply of service has been cancelled or terminated. So this is with regard to any construction service where we have also got a circular on this, circular 183. So we'll read along with that. I'll open that also. Sorry, it is circular 188. So this is circular 188. Now, so first let us understand what is this circular about. The circular 188 is about manner of filing an application for refund by an unregistered person. So why this circular? The circular is issued on account of the issues which are furnished by unregistered buyers of building and issues faced by the insured in case of long-term insurance policies. So what are the issues faced by the unregistered buyers? So unregistered buyers has entered into an agreement or contract with the builder for supply of services for construction of flat or building, etc. And they have paid the amount towards consideration for such service either fully or partially along with applicable tax. They had to get the contract or agreement cancelled subsequently due to non-completion or delay in construction activity in time or any other reasons. Period for issuance of credit note on account of cancellation of service under the provisions of section 34 has already expired. In such cases, the supplier may refund the amount to the buyer after deducting the amount of tax collected by him from the buyer. So what happens is, in the crux, you entered into an agreement with a builder for supply of services for construction. So you paid the amount either partly or fully. Later on, the agreement got terminated either for any reason, non-completion or not completing in time or any other reasons, and the issuance, the time limit for issuance of credit note has also lapsed, expired. So what the builder will do, supplier, he will refund the amount after deducting the taxes because he cannot issue a credit note, GST credit note. So he will deduct the taxes and remaining only he'll pay to the recipient, the buyer, unregistered buyer. So what are all the issues faced by the insured in case of long-term insurance policies? Premium for the entire period for the term of policy is paid upfront along with GST, and the policy is subsequently required to be terminated prematurely due to some reasons. So in some cases, the time period for issuing credit note under the provisions of section 34 of the CGST Act may have already been expired. So time period has already been expired, and therefore the insurance companies may refund only the proportionate premium net of GST. So in this case, what section 54 subsection 1 says? Refund. Any person can claim refund of tax or interest if any paid on such tax or any other amount paid by him by making an application before the expiry of 2 years from the relevant date in such form and manner as may be prescribed. So section 54 subsection 8 clause E, what it says, in case where the unregistered person has borne the incidence of tax and not passed on the same to any other person, the said refund shall be paid to him instead of being credited to Consumer Welfare Fund. So now new functionality is made available in the common portal. What is the new functionality saying? It allows unregistered persons to take a temporary registration and they can apply for refund under the category refund for unregistered person. So rule 89 sub rule 2 is amended by notification number 26/2022. What they are saying? Rule 89 sub rule 2 has been amended and statement 8 has to be inserted in form GST RFD 1 to provide for the documents required to be furnished along with application for refund by the unregistered person and the statement to be uploaded along with the said application. So this is a document. Two documents are required. Statement containing the details of invoice, number, date, value, tax paid, details of payment in respect of which refund is being claimed, along with copy of such invoices, proof of making such payment to the supplier, the copy of agreement or registered agreement or contract as applicable entered with the supplier of for supplier service, the letter issued by the supplier for cancellation or termination of agreement or contract for supplier service, details of payment received from the supplier against cancellation or termination of such agreement along with the proof. So whatever amount you got refunded from the supplier, that you have to furnish in case where the refund is claimed by the unregistered person, where the agreement or contract for supply has been cancelled or terminated. Next, a certificate issued by the supplier to the effect that he has paid the tax in respect of the invoices on which refund is being claimed by the applicant. So you have to furnish the certificate issued by the supplier that you have paid the tax and he has not adjusted the tax amount involved in these invoices against his tax liability by issuing a credit note. So that has to be furnished. And also that he has not claimed or will not claim refund of the amount of tax involved in respect of these invoices. In a case where the refund is claimed by an unregistered person, where the agreement or contract for supply of service has been cancelled or terminated. So we also have to furnish a reason that refund is being claimed by the unregistered person and the supplier has not claimed or will not claim any refund of tax. So what is the clarification which is given by the circular? So clarification is the unregistered person, whoever wants to file an application for refund under section 54 subsection 1, where the contract or agreement for supply of services of construction of flat or building has been cancelled, or where long-term insurance policy has been terminated, he has to obtain, the unregistered person has to obtain a temporary registration on the common portal using his PAN, permanent account number. He has to obtain a temporary registration. So while doing so, what will happen? The unregistered person shall select the same state or union territory where his or her supplier in respect of whose refund is to be claim is registered. So where the supplier is registered, that state you have to give. Then what will happen? The unregistered person will be required to undergo other authentication in terms of rule 10B of the CGST rules. Further, the unregistered person would be required to enter his bank account details in which he seeks to obtain the refund of the amount claimed. So he has to mention his bank account details. The applicant shall provide the details of the bank account which is in his name and he has obtained this under his PAN number. So those details he has to furnish. Application for refund has to be made in form GST RFD 1 on the common portal under the category refund for unregistered person. An applicant has to upload statement 8 in PDF format and all the requisite documents as per provisions of rule 89 sub rule 2 of the CGST rule has to be furnished. Refund amount claimed shall not exceed the total amount of tax declared on the invoices. The refund amount will not exceed the total amount of tax, should not exceed the total amount of tax which is declared on the invoices in respect of which refund is being claimed. Further, the applicant shall also upload the certificate issued by the supplier in terms of rule 89 sub rule 2 KB. So certificate that supplier will not, the supplier has actually paid the tax to the government and he will not claim the refund. So that certificate you have to upload. The applicant shall also upload any other documents in support of his claim that he has paid and borne the incidence of tax and the said amount is refundable to him. So that he has to upload. Separate application for refund in respect of invoices issued by different suppliers. So there will be different suppliers. So in that case, separate application for refund have to be filed in respect of invoices issued by different suppliers. Further, where the suppliers in respect of whose invoices refund is to be claimed are registered in different state or union territory, then the applicant has to obtain temporary registration in each of the concerned state or union territory where the said supplier is registered. Refund to be claimed only in case the time period for issuance of credit note has expired. So where the time period for issuance of credit note has expired, has not expired at the time of cancellation or termination of agreement or contract for supply of service, then the concerned supplier can issue a credit note to the unregistered person. So if the time period has not expired means then they can issue a credit note to the unregistered person. In such cases, supplier would be in a position to also pay back the amount of tax collected because of the credit note from the unregistered person, and there will not be any need for filing the refund application. So accordingly, the refund claim can be filed by the unregistered person only in those cases where the time period for issuance of credit note has expired. So only in those cases, he can apply for refund. Relevant date for filing of refund, date of issuance of letter of cancellation of the contract or agreement for supply by the supplier. So that date will be taken as the relevant date. After the relevant date, within 2 years, we have to file the application for refund. Minimum refund amount, no refund shall be paid to the applicant if the amount is less than rupees 1,000. Therefore, no refund shall be claimed if the amount is less than rupees 1,000. Process of refund claim by the proper officer. So proper officer will process the refund claim which is filed by the unregistered person in a manner similar to any other RFD1 claims, and he will scrutinize the application with regards to whether it is complete and whether the refund is eligible for the applicant and whether it is to his satisfaction, and then he will issue the sanction order, refund sanction order in form GST RFD 6. The proper officer shall also upload a detailed speaking order along with the refund sanction order in form GST RFD 6. Proportionate refund of tax. In cases where the amount paid by the supplier to the unregistered person on cancellation or termination of agreement or contract for supply of services is less than the amount paid by the unregistered person to the supplier. So a recipient has paid some amount, but amount paid back by the supplier is lesser than what he has paid. Then only that proportionate amount of tax involved in such amount paid back shall be refunded. So that amount alone will be refunded to the registered person, the unregistered buyer. So this is with regard to refund. We have also completed the circular. So moving on to the main notification. So these are the two statements which we have to furnish. Certificate is not required to be furnished where the refund is claimed by an unregistered person who has borne the incidence of tax. So if he himself has borne the incidence of tax, then no certificate is to be furnished. Appeal to the appellate authority. Rule 108, sub rule 3 substituted. Suppose where the decision or order appealed against is uploaded on the common portal, a final acknowledgement including appeal number shall be issued in form GST APL 2 by the appellate authority or an officer authorized by him in his behalf, and date of issuance of provisional acknowledgement will be considered as the date of filing of appeal. So date of issuance of provisional acknowledgement shall be considered as the date of filing of appeal. Where the decision or order appealed against is not uploaded on the common portal, then the appellant shall submit a self-certified copy of the decision or order within a period of 7 days from the date of filing of form GST APL 1, and a final acknowledgement including the appeal number shall be issued in form GST appeal 2 by the appellate authority or an officer authorized by him in his behalf. And the date of issuance of provisional acknowledgement shall be considered as the date of filing of that appeal. Where the self-certified copy of the decision or order is not furnished or not submitted within a period of 7 working days, 7 days from the date of filing of APL 1, the date of submission of such copy shall be considered as the date of filing appeal. So this is with regard to appeal to appellate authority. Application to appellate authority. Rule 109 substituted. Rule 109, sub-rule 1, what it says, an application to the appellate authority under section 107 subsection 2 shall be filed in form GST APL 3 along with the other documents either electronically or otherwise as may be notified by the commissioner, and a provisional acknowledgement shall be issued to the appellant immediately. Rule 109 sub-rule 2, where the decision or order appealed against is uploaded on the common portal. A final acknowledgement indicating appeal number shall be issued in form GST APL 02 by the appellate authority or an officer authorized by him in his behalf. And the date of issue of the provisional acknowledgement shall be considered as the date of filing of appeal. So date of provisional acknowledgement will be considered as the date of filing of appeal. Proviso 1, where the decision or order appeal against is not uploaded on the common portal, and then the appellant has to submit the self-certified copy of the decision or order within a period of 7 days from the date of filing of form GST appeal 3, and a final acknowledgement including the appeal number shall be issued in form GST APL 2 by the appellate authority or an officer authorized by him in his behalf, and the date of issue of provisional acknowledgement shall be considered as the date of filing of appeal. Proviso 2, where the self-certified copy of the decision or order is not submitted within the period of 7 days from the date of filing of APL 3, then the date of submission of such copy shall be considered. So whatever date you submit the copy of the order, that will be taken as the date of filing of appeal. Next is withdrawal of appeal. So the appellant can anytime withdraw from the appeal at any time before issuance of show cause notice under section 107 subsection 11 or before issuance of the order under said subsection, whichever is earlier, in respect of any appeal filed in form GST APL 1 or form GST APL 3, may file an application for withdrawal of the said appeal by filing an application in form GST APL 1 or 3W. Proviso 1, where the final acknowledgement in form GST APL 2 has been issued, the withdrawal of the said appeal would be subject to the approval of the appellate authority. So final appeal has been given. So it will be subject to the approval of the appellate authority, and such application for withdrawal of the appeal has to be decided by the appellate authority within 7 days of filing of such application. Proviso 2, any fresh appeal which is filed by the appellant pursuant to such withdrawal shall be filed within the time limit which is specified under section 108 subsection 1 and 2. That is, for the applicant it is 3 months, for the department it is 6 months. So this is what is with regard to the notification which is issued on 26 December 2022. So let us see the question. Section 37A proviso 2, does it apply only to reclaim of ITC reversed originally or any supply filed by the supplier in GSTR 1 as well as GSTR 3B for the first time after September 30th? Sir, I want your question to be clear. So you have asked with regard to this input tax credit rule 37A. So rule 37A proviso 2, that is non-furnishing. Subsequently, the supplier has furnished the return, you are eligible to re-avail the credit. Does it apply only to reclaim of ITC reversed originally or any supply filed by the supplier in GSTR 1 as well as GSTR 3B for the first time? Sir, like if he has not filed in GSTR1, we would not have taken the credit at all because it will not appear in GSTR2B. So it will not appear in GSTR2B. So therefore, we would not have taken the credit. So when we have not taken the credit, there is no point of reversal. Only when we reverse, then we are eligible to reclaim. So there is no point of reversal. So in this case, only whatever is taken, that is whatever is matched with GSTR2B and we have taken the credit, but it has not been filed by the supplier in GSTR3B, that we have to reverse. Whatever we reversed, when subsequently the supplier files the return, we can take back the credit, reavail the credit. So this is what is with regard to question number 1. Question number 2, will we get this presentation copy? Yes. The institute will send you all. Ma'am, do we need to pay interest at 24% on incorrect? Yes. Suppose you have taken wrong credit and you have also utilized it, then 24%. If you have not utilized it, then no problem. If you have also utilized it, then 24% interest is applicable. Here, it is, I won't say it is wrong credit because we are matching with GSTR2B and we have taken the credit. So it is not wrong credit, it is the right credit. Only thing, the supplier has not paid it to the government. So here, my view is 18% will apply. But clarification is required because they have simply mentioned section 50, not section 50 subsection 1 or subsection 3 is not clearly mentioned. My view is 18%. So let us wait for the clarification whether it is going to be 18 or 24%. But whenever there is incorrect utilization of ITC, it is 24%. So with this, we complete the notification and one circular we have completed. Let us move on to the other circulars. Circular 183. Circular 183/15/2022. So what are the contents discussed in this circular? So this circular is with regard to clarification to deal with difference in input tax credit availed in form GSTR3B as compared to that detailed in form GSTR2A for the financial years 2017-18, 18-19. So during the initial period of implementation of GST, what happened was we didn't get any notification stating that we have to match with GSTR2A and take the credit, and there were also not 2A was not there in the portal. So what we did, whatever is there in the purchase register, we have taken the credit without matching. So that's what they are mentioning here. During the initial period of implementation of GST, during the financial year 17-18, 18-19, in many cases, the supplier has failed to furnish the details of outward supplies in form GSTR1, which has led to certain deficiencies or discrepancies in form GSTR2A of the recipients. So however, the concerned recipients may have availed the input tax credit on such supplies. Yes, without matching, we have availed the credit. The discrepancies between the amount of ITC availed by the registered person in their returns in form GSTR3B and amount as available in their form GSTR2A are being noticed by the tax officers during proceedings such as scrutiny, audit, investigation, etc. due to such credit not flowing to from GSTR2A of the said registered person. So such discrepancies are considered by the tax officers as representing ineligible ITC availed by the registered persons, and they are being flagged. Seek explanation from the registered persons for such discrepancies or for reversal of such ineligible ITC. Form GSTR2A could not be available to the taxpayers on the common portal during the initial stages of implementation of GST. So during the initial stages of implementation of GST, form GSTR2A was not there in the common portal. Further restriction regarding availment of ITC by the registered person up to a certain specified limit beyond the ITC available as per form GSTR2A were provided under section Rule 36 sub Rule 4 only with effect from 9th October 2019. However, availability of ITC was subject to restrictions and conditions specified in Section 16 of CGST Act from 1st July 2017 itself. So what are the clarifications sought here? So in view of the above issues, various representations have been received from the trade as well as tax authorities. Seeking clarification regarding the manner of dealing with the discrepancies between the amount of ITC availed by the registered person in Form GSTR 3B and amount as available in Form GSTR 2A during 1718 and 1819. So what is the clarification provided? So where the supplier has furnished, he has failed to furnish GSTR 1 for a tax period, but he has furnished the return in GSTR 3B for said tax period, due to which supply is made by him in the said tax period do not get reflected in GSTR 2A. Scenario 1. Scenario 2, where the supplier has filed Form GSTR 1 as well as 3B for a tax period, but has failed to report a particular supply in Form GSTR 1, due to which the said supply does not get reflected in Form GSTR 2A. Scenario 3, where supplies were made to the registered person and an invoice is issued under Rule 46 of CGST rule containing the GSTN of the recipient, but supplier has wrongly reported the said supply as B2C supply instead of B2B in his Form GSTR 1, due to which the said supply does not get reflected. So all these cases, the issue is same. It will not get reflected in GSTR 2A. Different scenarios, but the issue is it will not get reflected in GSTR 2A. So what are the solution? So for what the proper officer will do, he will first seek details of from the registered person regarding the invoices on which ITC has been availed in his Form GSTR 3B, but which are not applicable, reflecting in GSTR 2A. Then what he will do, whether all the conditions as per Section 16 are satisfied or not, he will check whether he is in possession of tax invoice or debit note, he has received the goods or services, whether he has made payment for the amount towards the value of supply and tax to the supplier. So besides that, the proper officer shall also check whether any reversal of ITC is required to be made in accordance with Section 17 or Section 18 of CGST Act, and also whether the said input tax credit has been availed within the time period specified in Section 16 subsection 4. So this will also be required to be checked by the proper officer. So in order to verify the condition of Section 16 subsection 2 clause C, that the tax on the said supply has been paid by the supplier, the following action may be taken by the proper officer. So what are the actions which will be taken by the proper officer? In case where the difference between the ITC claimed in Form GSTR 3B and that available in 2A of the registered person in respect of a supplier for the said financial year exceeds 5 lakhs. So the difference is exceeding 5 lakhs. Then the proper officer shall ask the registered person to produce a certificate from a chartered accountant or a cost accountant certifying that supplies in respect of said invoices of supplier has actually been made by the supplier to the said registered person, and tax on such supplies have been paid by the said supplier in his return in Form GSTR 3B. So what happens is the chartered accountant has to issue a certificate stating that the invoices of supplier has been made to the concerned registered person only, and tax on that supplies has been paid by the supplier in Form GSTR 3B. And certificate which is issued by chartered accountant or a cost accountant shall contain the UDIN. So the UDIN of the certificate issued by CAs can be verified from the ICAI website, that is udin.ici.org, and which is issued by CMA can be verified in EIC ICMAI.in bar UDIN bar verify UDIN .aspx. Suppose if the difference between GSTR 3B and 2A is up to rupees 5 lakhs, then the proper officer shall ask the claimant to produce a certificate from the supplier, concerned supplier, to the effect that the said supplies have actually been made by him to the registered person, and the tax on said supplies has been paid by him, have actually been made by him to the said registered person, and the tax on said supplies has been paid by him by the said supplier in his return in Form GSTR 3B. So this point has to be checked. If it is up to rupees 5 lakhs, then chartered accountant certificate from chartered accountant or cost accountant is not required. Only thing is the supplier has to furnish a certificate stating that the supplies have actually been made by him to the concerned registered person, and the tax on said supplies has been paid by the said supplier in his return in form GSTR 3B. So this clarification he has to give. Scenario D, where the supplier has filed form GSTR 1 as well as form GSTR 3B for the tax period, but he has declared the supply with wrong GST number of the recipient in form GSTR 1. Then the difference in ITC claimed by the registered person in his return in form GSTR 3B and that available in form GSTR 2A may be handled by following the above procedure. So whatever is the above procedure we saw, up to 5 lakhs and exceeding 5 lakhs. Apart from that, the proper officer of the actual recipient shall intimate the concerned jurisdictional tax officer authority of the registered person whose GSTN has been mentioned wrongly. Because you mentioned wrong GST number means the other person's GST number, he will be taking the credit. So proper officer has to intimate the concerned jurisdictional tax officer that ITC on those transactions is required to be disallowed if claimed by the recipients in their form GSTR 3B. However, allowance of ITC to the actual recipient shall not depend upon the completion of this action by the tax authority of such registered person whose GSTN has been mentioned wrongly, and such action will be pursued as an independent action. For the period financial year 2017-18, as per proviso to section 16 subsection 4, the aforesaid relaxation shall not be applicable to the claim of ITC made in form GSTR 3B return filed after the due date. So if you have filed the return after the due date, then the said relaxation will not be applicable. After the due date, at that time, they have extended the due date from September 2018 to March 2019. If said supplier has not furnished the details of the said supplies in his form GSTR 1 till the due date for furnishing GSTR 1 for the month of 2019 March. So all these instructions will apply only to the ongoing proceedings in scrutiny or audit or investigation for the period 17-18 and 18-19 and not to the completed proceedings. However, these instructions will apply in those cases for financial year 2017-18 to financial year 2018-19 where any adjudication or appeal proceedings are still pending, then this will apply. So this is what is with regard to the circular 183. So questions. There are many state offices who are not considering 183 circular. They are of the opinion that if the ITC is not matching with GSTR 2A, they will issue a demand order and asking the taxpayer to go for an appeal. What should be done in such situation? You can you can give a reply stating that stating this circular as per the circular 183. A certificate from a chartered accountant, if it is exceeding 5 lakhs, a certificate from a chartered accountant is required to be furnished, and if you furnish that certificate, they have to allow that. Next, what if where the taxpayer have a proper tax invoice, remitted the invoice value to the supplier within 180 days and claimed ITC for financial year 17-18. Later on, it has come to the notice that supplier is absconding. Now, supplier CA cannot provide any certificate of the supplies made. What can be done in such scenario? So, taxpayer, in this case, the recipient has already made the payment of the value of supply as well as the taxes, but the supplier has not furnished the return in form GSTR 1 and 3B. So in this case, it is a genuine case. So, but circular is not providing any clarification with regard to this. So what you can do is you can attach the invoice copy, the payment made, and you can check the GST number also, GST number of the supplier. It was active at that point of time. So that copy you can attach and file a reply stating that at that point of time the GST number of the supplier was active and we made the payment and we have taken the credit. But now supplier has absconded, it's not furnished. So our chartered accountant is not in a position to furnish a certificate of the supply is made. So that reply you can furnish. So this will come to the rescue. So this is what is with regard to 183. Next, 184. Place of supply. Circular 184 was 16/2022, GST dated 27 December 2022. Content which is discussed in this circular. Clarification on the entitlement of input tax credit, where the place of supply is determined in terms of proviso to section 12 subsection 8 of IGST Act. So what is the place of supply as per section 12 subsection 8? In case of transportation of goods, including by mail or courier, where the location of the supplier as well as the recipient of services both are in India. Location of supplier and recipient of service are in India. So if it is provided to a registered person, then location of the registered person. The transportation of goods, the service by way of transportation of goods, if it is provided to a registered person, location of the registered person is the place of supply. If it is provided to a person other than the registered person, location at which goods are handed over for their transportation. So that point will be taken as the place of supply. Now, what does the proviso tell? Where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India, the place of supply shall be the place of destination of the goods. So where it is destined, that place will be taken as the place of supply. So in such cases, as the place of supply of services is outside India, concerned foreign destination and not the state where the recipient is registered. So what is the clarification they are giving on with regard to availability of ITC? In case of supply of services by way of transportation of goods, including by mail or courier, where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India and where the supplier and recipient of the said supply of services are located in India, what would be the place of supply of the said service? The place of supply of service by way of transportation of goods, including by mail or courier, where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India, is the place of destination of goods. So where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India, then the place of supply is destination of goods. So X is a person who is registered under GST in the state of West Bengal. He intends to export the goods to a person who is located in Singapore. X avails the services from cargo operator Z for transporting the goods, who is registered under GST under the state of West Bengal. So in this case, the place of supply would be the Singapore, place of destination of goods, Singapore. In the given case in serial number 1, whether the supply of services shall be treated as an interstate supply or intrastate supply. So the said supply will be treated as an interstate supply in terms of section 7 subsection 5 of the IGST Act. Since the location of the supplier is in India and place of supply is outside India, therefore IGST would be chargeable on the said supply. In respect of the illustration given above, Z would charge IGST from X in terms of section 7 subsection 5 for supply of services by way of transportation of goods. In the case given in serial number 1, whether the recipient of service of transportation of goods would be eligible to avail ITC in respect of said input service of transportation of goods. So whether the recipient will be eligible to avail ITC. So that is what we have to check. Section 16 of CGST Act lays down the eligibility and conditions for taking input tax credit, whereas Section 17 of the CGST Act provides for apportionment of credit. So 16 lays down the eligibility and conditions for taking input tax credit, whereas 17 lays down the conditions for apportionment of credit and block credit under circumstances specified therein. So the said provisions of law do not restrict availment of input tax credit by the recipient who is located in India if the place of supply is outside India. So the recipient will be eligible to avail the input tax credit in respect of IGST, which is charged by the supplier, subject to the fulfillment of any other conditions which are laid down in 16 or 17 of the CGST Act. So in the illustration which is given above, X would be eligible to avail the ITC in respect of supply of services received by him from Z, subject to the fulfillment of any other conditions which are laid down in section 16 and 17 of the CGST Act. In the case mentioned at serial number 1, what state code has to be mentioned by the supplier of the said service of transportation of goods, where the transportation of goods is to a place outside India while reporting the said supply in Form GSTR 1. The supplier of service shall report place of supply of such service by selecting state code as 96, that is foreign currency. So he has to report that place, selecting that state code as 96 from the list of codes in the drop-down menu available on the portal in Form GSTR 1. So that has to be mentioned. So this is what is with regard to circular 184, place of supply in case of transportation of goods. Next. Circular 186. Circular 186/18/2022, GST dated 27 December 2022. Taxability of no claim bonus offered by insurance companies. Applicability of e-invoicing with regard to an entity. So whether the deduction on account of no claim bonus, which is allowed by the insurance company from the insurance premium payable by the insured, can be considered as a consideration for the supply provided by the insured to the insurance company for agreeing to the obligation to refrain from the act of lodging insurance claim during the previous year. So the customer or insured procures insurance policy to indemnify himself from any loss or injury as per terms of the policy, and he is not under any contractual obligation to claim insurance claim during any period covered under the policy in lieu of no claim bonus. So therefore it is clarified that it is not a supply. So provided by the insured to the insurance company in form of agreeing to the obligation to refrain from the act of lodging insurance claim during the previous year, and no claim bonus cannot be considered as a consideration for any supply which is provided by the insured to the insurance company. So therefore it will not be treated as a supply. Whether no claim bonus provided by the insurance company to the insured can be considered as an admissible discount for the purpose of determination of value of supply of insurance service provided by the insurance company to the insured. So as per section 15 subsection 3 clause A, value of supply shall not include any discount which is given before or at the time of supply if such discount has been duly recorded in the invoice. So what the insurance company will do, will have to make a disclosure of the fact of availability of discount in form of no claim bonus subject to certain conditions to the insured in the insurance policy document itself. They have to mention and also provide the details of no claim bonus in the invoices. The pre-disclosure of no claim bonus amount in the policy document and specific mention of the discount in form of no claim bonus in the invoice is in consonance with the conditions which are laid down under section 15 subsection 3 clause A. Then it is clarified that no claim bonus is a permissible deduction. So you can deduct that amount and remaining only will be the value of supply. So permissible deduction under section 15 subsection 3 clause A of the CGST Act for the purpose of calculation of value of supply of the insurance service provided by the insurance company to the insured. Accordingly, where the deduction on account of no claim bonus is provided in the invoice issued by the insurer to the insured, GST shall be leviable only on the actual premium payable by the policyholder through the insurer after deduction of the no claim bonus. Next is clarification with regard to e-invoicing to an entity, where the exemption from mandatory generation of e-invoices in terms of notification 13/2020 central tax dated 21st March 2020 as amended is available only in respect of certain supplies made by the said entity. No. So for goods transport agency, banking and all, this e-invoicing is not applicable. So the said exemption is applicable for the entity as a whole, and it's not restricted by the nature of the supply being made by the said entity. Say for example, banking company which is providing banking services may also be involved in making supply of some goods, including bullion. The said banking company is exempted from the mandatory issuance of e-invoice in terms of section notification 13/2020, central tax dated 21st March 2020, as amended, for all supplies of goods and services, and they will not be required to issue an e-invoice with respect to the supplies made by them. So this is with regard to notification, circular 186. Circular 187. So what are all the content discussed in this circular? Clarification with regard to the treatment of statutory dues under GST law in respect of the taxpayers for whom the proceedings have been finalized under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. So White Circular number 134/4/2020, GST dated 23rd March 2020, it was clarified that no coercive action can be taken against the corporate debtor with respect to the dues of the prior period prior to the commencement of corporate insolvency resolution process. Such dues will be treated as operational debt, and the claims may be filed by the proper officer before the NCLT in accordance with the provisions of IBC. So what is the clarification sought here? So clarification has been sought regarding the modalities for implementation of the order of the adjudicating authority under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 with respect to demand for recovery against such corporate debtor under CGST Act 2017, as well as under existing laws, and the treatment of statutory dues under CGST Act and existing laws after finalization of the proceedings under IBC. Clarification provided by the circular. As per section 184 of the, as per section 84 of the CGST Act, continuation and validation of recovery proceedings. So what it says, where any notice of demand in respect of any tax, interest, penalty, or any other amount payable under this act, that is CGST Act, it is referred to as government dues, served upon any taxable person or any other person, and any appeal or revision application is filed, or any other proceedings is initiated in respect of such government dues, then where such government dues are reduced in such appeal, revision, or in any other proceedings, it shall not be necessary for the commissioner to serve any fresh notice. So it is not necessary for the commissioner to serve a fresh notice upon the taxable person. So what the commissioner will do, he will give the intimation of that reduction to him and to the proper authority, appropriate authority with regard to whom the proceedings is pending. Any recovery proceedings initiated on the basis of the demand served upon him prior to the disposal of such appeal, revision, or other proceedings may be continued in relation to the amounts or reduced from the stage at which such proceedings stood immediately before such disposal. As per section 84 of CGST Act, if the government dues against any person under CGST Act are reduced as a result of any appeal, revision, or other proceedings in respect of such government dues, then an intimation for such reduction of government dues has to be given. So suppose if there is any reduction as a result of any appeal or revision or proceedings, then intimation of such reduction of government dues has to be given by the commissioner to such person and to the appropriate authority with whom the recovery proceedings are pending. Further, recovery proceedings can be continued in relation to such reduced amount of government dues. What is other proceedings? Other proceedings, they are not defined under CGST Act. It is to be mentioned that adjudicating authorities and appellate authorities under IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, are quasi-judicial authorities constituted to deal with disputes pertaining to insolvency and bankruptcy. So for instance, under IBC, NCLT serves as an adjudicating authority for insolvency proceedings, which are initiated on application from any stakeholder of the entity like the firm, creditors, debtors, employees, etc. And it passes an order approving the resolution plan. As the proceedings conducted under IBC also adjudicate the government dues pending under the CGST Act or under existing laws against a corporate debtor, the same appear to be covered under the term other proceedings. So that is also covered under the term other proceedings. Rule 161 of the CGST rules prescribes Form GST DRC 25 for issuing the intimation for any reduction of the demand specified under section 84 of the CGST Act. So accordingly, in cases where there is a confirmed demand for recovery has been issued by the tax authority, for which a summary has been issued in form GST DRC 7 or 7A against the corporate debtor, and where the proceedings have been finalized against the corporate debtor under ABC, reducing the amount of statutory dues payable by the corporate debtor to the government under CGST Act or under existing laws, the jurisdictional commissioner shall issue an intimation in form GST DRC 25, reducing the demand. So if the amount is reduced due to appeal, then GST DRC 25 has to be issued for issuing an intimation for reduction of demand to the taxable person or any other person, as well as the appropriate authority with whom the recovery proceedings are pending. So this is with regard to notification, circular 187, circular 185. So what is the clarification issued by the circular? Time limit within which the proper officer is required to redetermine the amount of tax payable, considering notice to be issued under section 73 subsection 1. Methodology for computation of such amount payable by the notice, deeming the notice to be issued under 73 subsection 1. So what are the issues? In some of the cases where a show cause notice has been issued by the proper officer to the noticee under section 74 subsection 1 of CGST Act for demand of tax not paid or short paid or erroneous refund or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized, then the appellate authority or appellate tribunal or the court concludes that the said notice is not sustainable under 74 subsection 1 of the CGST Act for the reason that the charges of fraud or any willful misstatement or suppression of facts to evade tax have not been established against the noticee, and directs a proper officer to redetermine the amount of tax payable by the noticee, deeming the notice to have been issued under section 73 subsection 1 in accordance with the provisions of 75 subsection 2 of the CGST Act. What would be the time limit for redetermination of tax, interest and penalty by the noticee in such cases? So what section 75 subsection 3 of the CGST Act provides that that is an order required to be issued in pursuance of the directions of the appellate authority or appellate tribunal or the court has to be issued within 2 years from the date of communication of the said direction. Accordingly, in cases where any direction is issued by the appellate authority or appellate tribunal or the court to redetermine the amount of tax payable by the noticee by deeming the notice to have been issued under section 73 subsection 1 in accordance with the provisions of 75 subsection 2 of the CGST Act, the proper officer is required to issue the order of redetermination of tax, interest and penalty payable within the time limit as specified under section 75 subsection 3 of the CGST Act within a period of 2 years from the date of communication of the said direction by the appellate authority or appellate tribunal or the court as the case may be. So within a period of 2 years of the date of communication of the direction, then the court, the appellate tribunal or court has to redetermine the amount of tax payable, and they have to issue the order of redetermination of tax, interest and penalty payable. How the amount payable by the noticee, deeming the noticee to have been issued under 73 subsection 1 shall be recomputed or redetermined by the proper officer as per provisions of section 75 subsection 2. In cases where the amount of tax, interest, penalty payable by the noticee is required to be redetermined by the proper officer in terms of 75 subsection 2 of CGST Act, then the demand would have to be redetermined keeping in consideration of the provisions of 73 subsection 2 read with 73 subsection 10. So what is 73 subsection 1 says? It provides for issuance of show cause notice by the proper officer for tax not paid, short paid or erroneous refund or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized in cases which do not involve fraud or willful misstatement or suppression of facts to evade the taxes. Section 73 subsection 2 of the CGST Act provides that such show cause notice shall be issued at least 3 months prior to the time limit specified in 73 subsection 10 for issuance of order. As per section 73 subsection 9 of the CGST Act, the proper officer is required to determine the tax, interest and penalty due from the noticee and issue an order. As per section 73 subsection 10 of CGST Act, an order under 73 subsection 9 has to be issued by the proper officer within 3 years, that is 36 months from the due date for furnishing the annual return for the financial year in respect of the tax has not been paid or short paid or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized, or from the date of erroneous refund. So, for example, for financial year 22-23, the due date for furnishing annual return is 31st December 2023. From that date, 3 years. It transfers from combined reading of these provisions that in cases which do not involve fraud or willful misstatement or suppression of facts to evade payment of tax, the show cause notice has to be issued within 2 years and 9 months, that is 33 months from the due date for furnishing annual return for the financial year to which such tax not paid or short paid or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized relates to, or within 2 years 9 months from the date of erroneous refund. Therefore, in cases where the proper officer has to redetermine the amount of tax, interest and penalty payable, deeming the notice to have been issued under section 73 subsection 1 of CGST Act in terms of section 75 subsection 2 of CGST Act, the same can be redetermined so for so much amount of tax short paid, not paid, input tax credit wrongly determined, availed or utilized, or that of erroneous refund, in respect of which show cause notice was issued within the time limit as specified under section 73 subsection 2, read with section 73 subsection 10 of CGST Act. Thus, only the amount of tax short paid, not paid, or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized, along with interest and penalty payable in terms of section 73 of CGST Act relating to such financial years can be redetermined, where show cause notice was issued within 2 years and 9 months from the due date for furnishing the annual return for the respective financial year. Similarly, the amount of tax payable on account of erroneous refund, along with interest and penalty payable, can be redetermined only where the show cause notice was issued within 2 years and 9 months from the date of erroneous refund. So, there also you can redetermine the amount in case of erroneous refund. In case where the show cause notice under 74 subsection 1 was issued for tax short paid or tax not paid or wrongly availed or utilized input tax credit beyond the period of 2 years and 9 months from the due date for furnishing the annual return for the financial year to which the demand relates to, and the appellate authority concludes that the notice is not sustainable under 74 subsection 1 of the CGST Act, thereby deeming the notice to have been issued under 73 subsection 1, the entire proceeding shall have to be dropped, being hit by the limitation of time, because you have to furnish within 33 months and time limit has expired. Similarly, where show cause notice under 74 subsection 1 was issued for erroneous refund beyond a period of 2 years 9 months from the date of erroneous refund, and the entire proceeding will have to be dropped. In cases where the show cause notice in terms of 74 subsection 1 of CGST Act was issued for tax short paid or not paid or tax wrongly availed or utilized ITC or utilized ITC or on account of erroneous refund within 2 years and 9 months from the due date for furnishing the annual return for the said financial year to which such demand relates to, or from the date of erroneous refund, as the case may be, then the entire amount of the said demand in the show cause notice would be covered under the redetermined amount. Where the show cause notice under 74 subsection 1 was issued for multiple financial years, and where the notice had been issued before the expiry of time period as per 73 subsection 2 for one financial year, but after the expiry of the said due date for other financial years, then the amount payable in terms of 73 shall be redetermined only in respect of that financial year for which the show cause notice was issued before the expiry of the time period specified in 73 subsection 2. So with this, we have completed all the notifications and circulars. Any questions? So these are all the latest notification and circular which was issued. Any questions apart from these 5 questions? Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Any questions you can ask, Madam, sir? Hello. You can raise a ticket, raise a hand. We can we allowed to speak, sir. Any question you can ask.
May we raise question apart from this topic? Yeah, yes, sir, you can ask. I'll try to answer. Thank you for explaining so well. Okay. Thank you. Apart from this topic means only in GST. Is there any distance or mandatory issue of EVA bill? 50 kilometers. For all states, yes. Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Hello. So if there are no questions, then we can wind up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, madam. We can, if no question, we can end the session, madam. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
accepting our invitation, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for the patient listening. Thank you.